Gaming motivation is a way for you to figure out if some of the best rated games out there are a good fit for you. This is done by rating a game based on the 6 main motivators as determined by Quantric Foundry, and if you want to know what your motivations are, there's a link in the description where you can test yourself. Today we have BattleBit Remastered, a first-person shooter that somehow managed to become the best-selling game on Steam without microtransactions. Let's get right into it. I know the game looks like a Roblox ripoff, but this is probably the most action-packed game I've played in a long time. With 127 people on each team, the map never feels empty since there's always someone just around the corner, and your running speed is fast enough that the game never feels slow. There's a lot of variety too. There's tons of weapons with several attachments for each part that are all unlocked by getting kills. Every single weapon feels strong and fun to use. Sniping in this game feels natural, and it never feels too overpowered since there's distinct drawbacks like needing to chamber in another bullet after firing. There's also a C4 suicide bomb that is honestly the most fun I've had in a first-person shooter game in my entire life. And yes, I'm one of those guys. There's several types of vehicles like tanks and helicopters to pilot, even though it often ended in me getting myself blown up. You can even destroy almost every part of every building on the map. I do have a couple minor complaints. I fell through the ground at one point. You always spawn at the same place on an objective, which makes it easy to be spawn camped, and it's slightly difficult to see with all the blue dots showing where all your teammates are. But that's nothing compared to how much the game does right. I give the action a 5 out of 5. In my opinion, the social aspect of an FPS game is just as important as the gameplay itself. The ability to work together with your team to defeat the enemy can lead to some very funny and very satisfying moments. I think the team knew this because they added the death microphone, which is a way to talk to both your team and the enemy team after you die. This led to a couple of funny moments after killing some people.
Jesus Christ.
I also love how sometimes a group of people will just join together and do something stupid, just like in the good old days. Everything here reminds me of the old Call of Duty lobbies, honestly, only with a lot less of the racism and harassment, since the developers of the game are pretty good at catching and banning people. It is slightly annoying that you can't create a clan until level 60, but with the ability to create and join squads in-game, it's easy to join your friends. We all spent days playing this game together, and I cannot imagine myself putting it down anytime soon. I give the social a 5 out of 5. It's kind of difficult to master an FPS game, and BattleBit is no different. Mastery can be broken down into 2 subcategories, challenge and strategy. In my opinion, challenge refers to games where practicing the mechanics are necessary to winning, whether that's learning how to counter all the different moves of a boss in Dark Souls, or practicing a particularly difficult combo in Mortal Kombat. Except for the slight weapon drop-offs with ranged weapons, there's no real mechanics to practice in this game. I will admit that there is a potential learning curve in the game with all the charts and statistics that they give you for each gun and its damage drop-off, but I don't think it's enough to motivate people who love mastery to play this game. The other part is strategy. Sure, BattleBit encourages short-term strategy like flanking, but strategy in this context is more about long-term strategy games like Civilization. You can find parts of mastery in BattleBit, but I don't think there's enough here to sway anyone, so I give the mastery a 1 out of 5. If you're looking to play games to complete them and get all the achievements, then I have some good news for you. The game has no achievements, so you win by default. If you play a game to unlock items, then I have some actual good news for you. Everything in this game is unlocked by either leveling up or by getting kills. If you want to unlock guns, then you have to level up. If you want to get extra attachments or skins for your guns, you have to get kills with them. No more having to try to complete a buggy challenge in the game. No more having to spend hours playing just to get a loot box with a random chance of getting you what you want. And no more having to spend $20 to get an overpowered gun early. The only thing stopping you from unlocking everything the game has to offer is your time and your skill. If you're someone motivated purely by collecting and unlocking tons of objects and achievements, then this might not be the game for you. But if you're a fan of unlocking weapons and skins through hard work instead of your wallet, then you'll probably love BattleBit. I give achievement a 3 out of 5. Listen, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. When it comes to Immersion, BattleBit is probably the last game that comes to mind. Sure, some of the characters look like constipated Legos, and that's fine because I feel like that's what the game's trying to be. It's trying to be a bit more of a simplistic looking shooter to put more effort into making the actual gameplay and servers stronger. But at the same time, Immersion is meant for people who love the fantasy and story aspects of games. With no campaign, there is literally no story here. And as for the fantasy aspect, there's nothing here that really makes me think, wow, I am so immersed in this world. If Immersion was about how easily you could enter and stay invested in the game, then I'd definitely rate the game higher. But for a general sense of immersion, I have to give it a 1 out of 5. Unless you consider finding out how many different ways I can kill someone as being creative, there's only 2 real ways I can think to be creative in this game earlier. Like I said, it's possible to destroy most of the environment in this game, so finding different ways to blow apart buildings from more sightlines to the enemy, or even creating small peek holes in the walls to shoot people, are technically ways to be creative, even though they backfired on me more often than not. You also have the ability to build a few objects on the battlefield to use as cover. I never really found a great use for them, but I imagine people that are more creative will have more fun doing so. I don't think there's enough here to motivate someone purely focused on being creative, but I feel like there's enough here for people to get a little taste. For that, I give creativity a 2 out of 5. Honestly, there's a lot more to BattleBit that I haven't even mentioned yet. I love the inclusion of blind voting at the end of each map so that people don't just choose the option that already has the most votes. The maps themselves all look and play in a unique way, and the game itself is only $15. If you're someone that loves action in all their video games and loves to interact with other people, this is definitely the game for you. Although I will admit that the game is lacking in some of the other motivations, I think the gameplay itself more than makes up for it. Plus, it was the best-selling game on Steam. That has to count for something. Anyway, I hope to see you all next week. Peace out.